Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Boku no Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 3. This one actually is one that I kind of underestimated at first. Like, my first time watching it, I was like, okay, it's whatever. But then after, always watching other people's videos on it, watching it multiple times before I do my review, as I watched it the second, official, full, all the way through time to take my notes on it for the review, I sort of appreciated it a lot more. I thought it was a lot better upon watching other people watch it in their reaction videos, and then upon watching it a second time, I definitely thought it was a lot better watching it the second time than I did with my first impression. But yeah, some of the good things about this, we get a deeper look at Night-Eye's character, still not fully deep into understanding all about him or anything, but we get to see more of his character and what he's all about. I love the added scenes that they added for just the anime only. I've generally liked when Boku no Hero Academia has done that. They've just generally done a really good job with, I don't want to say filler, but anime only content. Now, the ending for this episode is super duper hype. I love the ending for it. And in general, I feel like this episode just did a good job to build toward next episode, or to build toward the future in general, but specifically next episode. Next episode looks like it's going to be great. Hopefully my review for that should be up right after the actual episode, but I'm still trying to just catch up on a million things, of course. So, to start from the beginning of the episode to talk about it a bit, I thought at the very beginning, when we're kind of doing our recap-ish stuff, we got a really good explanation, actually, of how Izuku can legally work as a hero in certain situations, like if he's under the supervision of a pro, or if it's an emergency. Like if a villain incident were to pop off right beside him, he could stop the villain. If some sort of landslide or emergency happened, he could get involved in a hero capacity, or him just following the orders of a pro like Nighteye. So I think it's really cool now that provisional licenses, some of the students, all of them except Bakugo and Todoroki really, can now do that. And I like that we got the explanation there. But getting into the actual new content, we see that Nighteye is very, very serious about All Might. Izuku kind of compares him to himself as like a fanboy, and while to a certain extent I think maybe that's true, I just think Nighteye really, like he said about loving and respecting All Might, I think he seriously loves and respects All Might, and because of that he's very, very serious about him. I think it's a little bit different than Izuku's otaku-esque fanboying, but there is some sort of similar thread of really loving and respecting All Might. So I think it's cool too, talking about the Vinegar River incident is I think what they called it here, and we actually get to see it play out a bit in the anime. But talking about that a bit, it's really telling and cool about Izuku's character that rather than the flashy things where All Might is taking out these big villains or anything, Izuku is really a fan of just these small sort of things, these small acts of good that All Might's done for people. So I really like that. We get a more detailed explanation of the work studies here, which is something I talked about a little bit last review, but I said I'd mostly save to talk about here. So he has to stay there for a minimum of 1 to 4 months. This was weird because I'm pretty sure in the sub they specifically said at least 1 month, and in the dub they specifically said at least 4 months. So I'm not sure which of them, if either, is wrong, but I thought it was weird that the sub and dub, one said 1 month and one said 4 months, I think. Or maybe they said for a month and I just heard it wrong, I misheard it. That could be a possibility. But it's basically like a real job, like a second job alongside going to school, so it's going to be hard for him to keep up. He's probably going to have to be absent here and there and make up classes, or just keep his grades up despite having to miss some classes. So it's basically going to be, and he's even getting paid, so yeah, he's basically going to work as a pro hero. Now he's going to be lower on the totem pole than the actual head pro of the office or even the sidekicks. But at the same time, it's basically like a real job. Now, another cool thing with Nighteye is when Nighteye was like, okay, I already have 2 sidekicks and a work study. So we've seen Bubble Girl, we've seen Mirio, of course. So we do have another sidekick working for Nighteye that we haven't seen yet, but Nightaye's like, how can you contribute? What's the benefit for you working for me? And how can you contribute to society? All Might's personality and sort of force of will gave people peace. His humor and his strength, I think, are the specific words that Nighteye uses. It gave people a sense of peace, and that was how he contributed to society, which is again cool, showing that we know that Nighteye, from what Mirio said, really believes strongly in sort of energy and having a sense of humor, despite how he looks. But I think it's cool to notice that one of the reasons he respects that, it might not be one of the reasons he respects that is because he respects All Might, but maybe he respects All Might so much because he respects that humor. But he sees how the two were tied in together, how All Might being a symbol of peace for people was more important than the actual minutia of the hero details, sort of like, again, the difference between Endeavor and All Might, where Endeavor, and it's one of the best things to keep bringing up as an explanation of the sort of symbol of peace-ness of All Might, where Endeavor takes down more villains, solves more incidents, but he just isn't the symbol of peace. He doesn't have this sort of character that he puts out there in order to give people a sense of comfort so they don't have to worry about villains or tragedies, like what All Might does. All Might gives people a symbol even though he doesn't really complete as much hero work. And that's what Nighteye values here, which is why he loves Mirio so much. So he gives Izuku a practical challenge, pretty much just to show him his weakness. Now Mirio mentions that he wasn't tested practically. Of course, again, we see that Mirio wasn't tested practically because I'm sure Nighteye cares about his practical abilities, but it was more about Mirio's personality, the way he's always upbeat and cheerful and bringing up the spirits of people around him. That was what was important. And so basically everything Nighteye does here is to make Izuku feel like he isn't good enough for All Might's power. From saying out loud the moves Izuku's going to make to throw him off, from insulting him to provoke him, just the general challenge to begin with to show him that physically he can't take the thing from Nighteye. It's all to sort of throw Izuku off his game, make him feel mentally weaker. And Izuku ends up going through a few good strategies here. I know the great line in the end is like, oh, you had one good plan and it didn't work out, but Izuku actually starts off thinking he knows about Night-Eye's quirk. He knows he can see the future, but he doesn't know how he can see the future, and he doesn't know the activation qualities, like Night-Eye says in the little internal monologue that Present Mike always does at the end of it. The activation qualities are a secret. So other people don't really know the activation qualities of how he can see the future, even if his quirk is out there, so that people who are fans enough of All Might like Izuku would know, oh, he can see the future. Don't totally understand how it works, but he can see the future, somehow. But Izuku actually has a few good strategies. At first he says, okay, if he can see the decisions I'm going to make, then if I make a bunch of different moves jumping all around, if I make a bunch of different decisions, maybe he won't be able to keep up with the number of moves, and that ends up not working out. So then, once he starts getting provoked a bit by Night-Eye's words, he says, you know what, next up, let me try to go so fast that even if he can see it coming, he can't physically keep up with me. So he tries that, still doesn't work, and that's when he gets called a degraded Gran Torino, which is a great line, and really, really, again, smart that not only can Night-Eye see the future, but of course someone who can see the future, if they want to be a pro hero, they need to train their body to be able to keep up with people. It's sort of like Aizawa. Aizawa's in a situation where he can erase people's quirks, but if you erase somebody's quirk and they can still kick your ass, that's not really a good thing. So Aizawa needed to be strong enough in combat to be able to fight people once he did erase their quirks. Or to be able to take people down in that short a time before he has to blink and their quirk comes back, or anything like that. So it would make sense that a hero like Nighteye would need to train to be able to avoid stuff like that. And of course it would make sense that he would know Gran Torino's abilities because of his closeness to All Might. Because again, we know from the past, I think David Shield, I'm not sure if he was technically a sidekick for All Might, but they had their closeness. But other than him, the only other person we know of to have that sort of working relationship with All Might, and probably even more important in some aspects, is Nighteye. So I do like the sort of knowledge and abilities that Nighteye shows, other than being able to see the future. Because of course he himself would have to have the knowledge, the experience, and the physical acumen to keep up anyway. So from there, we see... Oh, the third thing that Izuku actually tries out beyond number of moves and beyond just outspeeding him is he figures, okay, the way he worded it, he can see anything I'm going to do anywhere I do it. But is he just seeing the future in general, or is he seeing the future of a specific target? Because if he's seeing the future of a specific target, which is me, then maybe if I break his line of sight, that'll help me out. Because of course Izuku doesn't know all of the details. So he tries that out, and it still doesn't work because that's not really how Night-Eye's quirk works. So again, really, really cool. And I love all the limits and specifications involved in Night-Eye's quirk. Seeing the future seems like a totally OP thing, but at the same time, he can only do so for an hour, and in that hour he has to touch the person and look into their eyes, and that's when the hour starts, I would assume. So after he touches a person and looks into their eyes, he only has an hour, and if he's right there face to face with a villain, he might not have a lot of time to be thinking about, okay, I need to look at what's going to happen in this person's future, as he's also trying to fight the person. So again, that would be another thing that's up to a lot of training for him specifically. But I like all the details involved. So we get the reveal. Izuku avoided all the All Mights in the room. Night-Eye chuckles at that. It's like very hard to hear, like barely in the anime at all. It's very difficult to hear, but Night-Eye chuckles at him avoiding all the All Mights in the room. But he still doesn't accept that Izuku is the best choice. He had always planned to take him on as a work study, but that's because the power of One for All has to be passed on willingly. They can't just force somebody to pass the power on to somebody. So now that Izuku has it, Night-Eye at least, needs to have Izuku willingly give up the quirk. So that's what he's done. He's like, I'm not going to do anything directly negative against you. I'm just going to let you work alongside me, alongside Mirio, alongside these other pros, and by seeing other pros work, and specifically by putting him with Mirio, I mean immediately at the end of the episode, especially by having him spend more time with Mirio, the plan is just to make Izuku see how great Mirio is, and make him question how good he is himself, so that maybe he'll give up the power and give it to Mirio. Then again, Night-Eye doesn't know that Izuku's already had these thoughts before about people like Todoroki, and All Might has been there for Izuku and said that, I picked you for a reason. You remind me a bit of myself, and also it's a situation of Izuku being more heroic in the sort of symbol of peace sort of sense than others. So again, while Mirio seems to perfectly fit the mold of what All Might believes in and what Night-Eye believes in, Izuku also sort of fits that in his own way, in being heroic when he needs to be, and trying his best and everything. And All Might sees that in him, and Night-Eye just doesn't see it yet. And I like that as he tested him, Night-Eye's like, I gave you a chance, but the more I give you a chance, the more I don't see why it has to be you specifically that takes on the power. So I think that's really, really cool. So getting into this next scene that's an anime only, I really, really, really like this scene. So last episode we had sort of Kirishima and Tokiyama saying that they're busy, they weren't going to be able to just go hang out, do study day or whatever with Kaminari and Mineta. So I thought that meant, okay, they must be in work studies already, but no, we get a scene here where they're talking about all the others being like, yeah, I can't do a work study where I used to for this reason or for that reason, and Aizawa brings up that yeah, a pro has a lot of responsibility put on them if they take a work study. If anything happens, like if you, as a sort of provisionally licensed person, do something sketchy, or if something dangerous or sketchy happens to you, you're under their care and you're also their responsibility. So only a real pro who like really knows what they're doing, who's like, I can keep going with my own work and also be able to train this person up, or have this person help me. Only somebody that really believes in what they're doing or really believes in a certain future hero like Nighteye believes in Mirio would be willing to take on somebody as a work study. And that being said, he brings up that Hawks from Kyushu, the number 3 hero, so just behind, because we haven't seen the rankings updated yet. I don't want to spoil anything about that, but we haven't seen the rankings updated yet, from the Pro Hero rankings, and more of the... I will, at least, this isn't a spoiler, I will say we will actually see more of that in the future. That's something that we will see, is when hero rankings are updated. We will specifically be told that, and we haven't been told they've been updated, so we know from saying that he's 3rd, that means he must be just behind All Might and Endeavor, because that would mean All Might in 1st, Endeavor 2nd, Hawks is 3rd. That's a space that we didn't know about before. I believe 4th was Best Jeanist, wasn't it? 4th was Best Jeanist, and 5th was Edshot, I think, and then Gang Orca was like 10th. And I think that's all the top 10 that we know right now. So yeah, at least anime-wise, that's all we know right now. I'm not getting into any spoilers, so please nobody do any spoilers in the comments for people that are anime only. So yeah, Hawks, incredibly important in the hero world, asks for Tokiyami, wants Tokiyami, and I think it's so cool that Tokiyami's getting this sort of attention, and it makes sense because people got to see the people competing in the sports festival. Tokiyami came in 3rd, and not only did he come in 3rd, but he came in 3rd in a way that was less sort of violent and destructive and angry out there as Bakugo, or less sort of angsty, even though Todoroki is shown to be incredible in like every way. He's been shown to be incredible in every way, from that sort of aspect. Less sort of angsty, why didn't he use his power sort of way than Todoroki. So it's actually really cool seeing that attention being given to Tokiyami. And now we will, I assume, probably in the anime be shown... I'm hoping we get some scenes showing why specifically Amajiki is like, yeah, Kirishima's the one, I want to talk to Kirishima. I do think we'll get some reasoning behind that, and I would love to see it when we do, and Hado, of course, wants to talk to Tsuyu and Uraraka. Also, during this all, we get these really funny moments for Bakugo and Todoroki that I really like. Also, before we transition into the next day when Izuku's work study starts, we get this silent shot of All Might, and I really like that. It seems a bit random, a bit thrown in there, but I really liked it personally. So yep, then the next day work study starts, and we learn that the Nighteye hero offices are trying to tail the Shie Hisaikai, specifically Chisaki of course, because strangely enough, even though the police and heroes have done their best job monitoring underground criminals like Yakuza, my voice cracked, Chisaki has been strangely gathering people lately, and has even met the League of Villains from what they know. So that's very, very sketchy. But despite it being very, very sketchy, the Shie Hisaikai exists in a legal gray area. They're not like technically doing anything that they have proof is illegal. Like Nighteye doesn't have any proof anything the Shie Hisaikai is doing is illegal, but it's definitely sketchy that they're meeting the League of Villains, that they are known as Yakuza. So I think that's again a cool concept to go into, that they can't just, like he says, we need to tail Chisaki and not let him know that we're on to him, not actually try to arrest him, because they don't really have anything at the moment to arrest Chisaki or the Shie Hisaikai on. I think that's really cool to just introduce that gray area where they're not just villains that they can go out and attack and capture. They're criminals, probably, but they don't have any evidence on them yet. So I think that's really cool. Then very end, after credit scene, Eri meets Izuku, and we have we have Overhaul telling her, let's go home. Pretty like pretty much hinting that they are related or at least live in the same place maybe, but he tells Eddie let's go home, and I'm not going to spoil anything. All I can say is it really makes me excited for next episode, which, because this is so late, shouldn't be too long from now. So this episode was really, really hype. I really didn't give it enough credit at first. I like Night-Eye's dub voice a lot, was something I mentioned last review, because I watch him both sub and dub before doing these usually. And yeah, I think it really builds up the excitement for next week. I'd give it 8.5 chosen successors or true successors, better successors out of 10. 8.5 out of 10, just because at first I was like, it's whatever. But yeah, rewatching, I really appreciated this, and you can tell by the length of the video. I really do enjoy doing discussions on these, and it's always one of those difficult balances to make. I was thinking as going through this, and I keep talking, and the video gets longer. I think people do, at least from other YouTubers that I watch, appreciate long discussions where we really get into the themes and stuff that are going on in the show, but it's hard to balance doing a long, in-depth discussion of an episode with also just trying to be shorter, because I feel like some people will look and say like, damn, that review's as long as the episode itself. Why do I want to watch a review as long as the episode itself? But then again, if I go shorter, I mean, at that point I would pretty much just be listing off what happened in the episode. Nobody really wants to see me just list off things that happened in the episode that they already watched. But yeah. Either way, I suppose that's just me always questioning choices and all that. But yeah, either way, I'm going to end this video here. Like if you did like the video, and comment down there to tell me what you thought of this episode or what you thought of my thoughts on it. I actually think my discussion of this turned out pretty well. Subscribe for more Boku no Hero Academia, much more on the channel, both anime and manga. For the manga videos, I try to, of course, be as spoiler-free as possible in titles and thumbnails, to be courteous to anime onlys, of course. Just like I do in the videos, I try to go into the reviews for the anime as if I haven't read the manga. So I think it's a good balance, going into it as if I haven't read, but also having that sort of knowledge base there of having read to fall back on, so I don't mess anything up particularly, hopefully. But also, if you want to, follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or talk to you there. And if you would like a link to the Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord, it's free and open for anyone. Just ask and I can give you a link to the Discord server. And lastly, if you want to help support the channel to keep videos coming, it's patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description. Patrons also get to put in suggestions and vote on new series whenever I add new series. That's how we got Assassination Classroom, and whenever I'm adding a new series or done with that, or people say, hey, just add in a new series instead, I'll be gathering suggestions and letting people vote on a new series again. So, yeah, after all of that, is there anything else I wanted to bring up? No, I think I'm good. One last thing I want to bring up. I'm thinking some of the episodes this season I might try to do reactions to. My problem with that is that I'm just not experienced in it. I've never really done it before. So, yeah, I might do some. And if I do, you'll see them in a sort of edited down version as is normal on YouTube. I'm not sure if I'll combine them in with the reviews. I don't think I will, but I don't know. And if I do it that way, I'll probably post the full-length versions, whether with a timer or whatever, just so you could follow along and watch along with the full thing on Patreon, just as a way to, again, help drum up some support to keep the channel going, but also nothing hidden behind a paywall. You're still going to get it on the channel for free, just in the edited down version, with at least part of the video in the corner or whatever. But yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. So yeah, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.